Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. And if you're new here, I'm Sandy. Today we're going to get really super creative with Dollar Tree supplies, starting with these 4x6 chrome picture frames. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the easel at the back of the frame. This is what usually helps the picture frame to stand on a table, but for today's project, we'll be removing it since we won't be needing it. Then we'll remove the contents, including the cardboard backing, the little foam piece, and the default picture that the frame comes with. And in fact, we'll do these same steps for 3 of the photo frames. Then next, I'm going to take the default picture that the frame comes with and use it as a template to cut out a piece of acrylic mirror. Yes, you heard that right. I'll be cutting 3 pieces of acrylic mirror to place inside each of the 3 chrome photo frames. And as you can see, these acrylic mirrors are as thin as paper and they can be cut to size. And when I remove the blue plastic film later, you'll be blown away at how reflective the acrylic mirror is. Almost as good as real glass mirror. And by the way, if you want to try crafting with these acrylic mirrors, they're much cheaper than glass mirrors and, as you can see, very easy to work with because they can be cut to size and they'll never shatter like real glass mirrors. I'll leave a link down below in the description box to these acrylic mirrors along with all of my other favorite crafting supplies and embellishments so you can stock up for your own craft projects. Okay, so now that I have 3 pieces cut to size, I'll go ahead and peel away the blue plastic film. And then we'll flip the mirror over to insert it into the frame with the mirror side facing outwards. Then in goes the default picture as well as the little foam pieces and the cardboard backing. Everything slides back in quite easily, but to make sure nothing falls out, I'm going to add a tiny bit of hot glue for that extra hold. And then we're going to do the exact same steps for the other 2 photo frames. Take a look at how reflective this acrylic mirror is. Pretty neat, huh? I have no idea how they're able to make these, but I'm so glad I discovered these acrylic mirrors because they're just so much easier to work with. They're very lightweight and of course they're very, very budget friendly. So once I have 3 photo frames done, I'm going to go to the next step with these chopping mats. These are plastic and translucent, meaning they're not quite opaque because you can still see through them, although not transparent. And that means they'll be able to let in lots of light through. So here I've already measured and cut out a piece the same length as the picture frame, and now what I'm going to do is fold over the ends about 3/4 of an inch. Once both ends are folded over, we'll want to attach the ends to the back of the photo frame. And to do that, I'm going to be using 2 types of glue. First, I'll apply a very strong adhesive like Fix-All, which is actually a super glue. This will give it a very secure and long-lasting hold, although it will take several hours to fully cure, which is why I'm going to go back in with some hot glue. The hot glue will bond the chopping mat to the cardboard backing within seconds, so we won't have to wait for the Fix-All to fully cure overnight before continuing with the rest of the craft project. And once the first photo frame is done, I'll continue the exact same steps with the other 2 photo frames. And while I work on that, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting the subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so YouTube will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. And finally, here's the last chopping mat. And you're going to be able to see that I decided to remove one of the little metal hooks from the back of the picture frame as well, because it was preventing me from being able to fold over the chopping mat. So while I finish this third picture frame, I would love to know whether any of you have ever made a wall sconce before, because that is exactly what we're making today. Comment down below with the words wall sconce and let me know. And if you have, do you typically make single wall sconces, or do you usually make a pair of matching wall sconces so you can hang one on either side of a door frame, a mirror, or a piece of artwork? Okay, so this is what we have so far. All the glue has completely dried and the whole thing is very secure. But we're not done yet. Now we're going to add some design detail to each of these covered photo frames. I have a pack of metal grill trays that you would normally use if you were barbecuing. But today we're going to give these grill trays a completely different purpose. These grill trays come in a 2-pack and they're silver, so they'll be perfect for my silver themed wall sconce. The grill trays are also quite flexible, as you can see here, so I'll be able to manipulate them into the shape I want. And what I want to do is cover the chopping mat with a piece of this metal grill tray. So here I'm just sizing it out, how much I need for each photo frame. Once I know how much I need, I'll go ahead and use a pair of scissors to cut them to size. And see how easily it cuts? I'm just using a regular pair of craft scissors, nothing fancy at all. The only thing I would caution though is once you have your piece cut, just be careful about the edges of the metal grill tray where the cut was made, because the edges will be a little sharp, so you don't want to cut yourself while handling it. Okay, so we have our piece. We're going to attach it to our picture frame now, right over top the chopping mat, in fact. And to make sure the metal grill tray stays in place, I'm going to use these nylon ties. These were the longest ones I could find at the dollar store, but they're still not long enough, so I'm going to attach two pieces together to make one very long piece. And now comes the slightly tricky part. We're going to loop one end of the nylon tie through one end of the metal grill tray that is now covering the chopping mat. It's going to take a little bit of finger gymnastics and coordination to tie the two ends together while keeping the photo frame from rolling around the table. You can see here I've got the back of the picture frame facing upwards, and I'm trying to keep the photo frame from moving because we've got the rounded part of the chopping mat sitting directly on the table. And once I have the ends tied together, I'm not going to tighten them up quite yet too much. What I'll do is loop a second piece towards the bottom first. Once I have that second piece in, I'm going to turn the picture frame around to make sure it looks okay. I want to make sure the metal grill tray is not crooked and that it's sitting snug against the chopping mat. Then I'll turn it over and slowly tighten the ties until I can tighten them no more. Then I'll take my scissors and cut off the excess. So once I have my first one done, I'll repeat the same steps with the other two picture frames. The only thing that I would want to call out to you is that for the other two photo frames, I ended up using less zip ties because I discovered that I really only needed to tie one in the middle instead of one at the top and one at the bottom. So I'll continue working on this until I have all three photo frames covered with a piece of the metal grill tray. And while I work on that, comment down below with the words Wall Sconce and let me know whether you're currently working on any lighting projects. And if so, I would love to know what kind of lighting you're making. For me, I love to make wall sconces, but I also like to make table lamps as well as hanging chandeliers. In fact, I have made crystal chandeliers using dollar store materials and have a couple of them hanging in my home. If you would like some inspiration or some crafting ideas for your lighting projects, be sure to check out my playlist of lamps, wall sconces, and chandeliers. In fact, I would welcome you all to create one of my projects and come back in the comments section to let me know how it all turned out. After I finished working with the 3 photo frames, I set them aside and now we're going to focus on building out a backboard for our sconces to hang on. This is a piece of wood panel that I got at the Dollar Tree and it's probably the thickest one that I could find there. The other ones I found were smaller and thinner and some of them already had designs and sayings on them, so I opted for this plain one. So the first thing we're going to do is add some hooks to one side of the wood panel. And as you can see, I already cut out the metal hooks from some photo frames already, and now I'm going to glue each of them to the wood panel. And you'll notice I opted to secure 3 hooks, but I'm pretty sure you could actually get away with only one placed in the middle. But for good measure, I'm going to glue 3 of them spread out equidistant from each other. And once again, I'm using a combination of Fix-All as well as hot glue just so we can get a super secure hold from the Fix-All as well as a quick hold from the hot glue. And by the way, you'll notice that I placed the hooks on the front of the wood panel, but you could also place them on the back instead. In the end, it actually won't really matter which side because I'll be covering the exposed areas anyways. And take a look at how secure the metal hooks are. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip this wood panel over and then lay it onto the table surface. You'll notice that I've already got some pencil markings on the other side. That's because the side where we have the markings is where we'll eventually attach the 3 picture frame sconces to later. And since we want the sconces to be spaced evenly, I went ahead to measure out the wood panel, which you can see is 23 5/8 inches across. And then on either ends of the wood panel, I measured out 3 7/8 inches. And you can see I already have a pencil marking on both ends. Next, you can see on my piece of paper, I have drawn out a rectangle that is 2 7/8 inches across, labeled block. That's the exact size of this wooden block. And this wooden block is actually part of the package of Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree, except they call them tumbling tower blocks. So we'll need a total of 6 of these wooden blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and start placing the first 2 blocks here where we have the first pencil marking, and then the next 2 here where we have the second pencil marking. Next, we're going to dip into our stash of acrylic mirrors again and place 1 sheet right beside the first set of blocks. Then we'll place our last 2 wooden blocks on the other side of the acrylic mirror. And finally, a second sheet of the acrylic mirror goes here. So this will be the general layout of our backboard, and eventually the photo frame sconces will be placed onto the wooden blocks. And with that in mind, I decided to move each of the wooden blocks a little closer to the top and bottom edges of the wood panel. It's really a matter of personal preference, but also because I want to make sure that the zip ties don't get in the way later when I'm trying to secure the picture frame sconces onto the wooden blocks. Now we're ready to glue down each of the wooden blocks. We'll start with the set of 2 on either end of the wood panel and leave the 2 in the middle for later. And to secure that, I'm just going to apply a bit of hot glue because hot glue is able to bond wood to wood very well. So we really won't need to add any Fix-All or super glue unless you really want to. Now, since the wooden blocks are positioned close to the edges, they may be visible later, so I'm going to go in and embellish them with a strip of silver rhinestone trim. This trim is self-adhesive, so all you need to do is peel away the wax backing before applying them to the wooden blocks. They also come in rolls and in different widths and lengths, so you can actually cut them to size. And I know some of you are going to ask me again, so I'll just mention that I have links links to this rhinestone trim along with all my favorite embellishments I use in my craft projects down in the description box. So feel free to check the links out and let me know if you have any questions. Alright, so with that done, it's time to apply our acrylic mirrors to the wood panel. The idea is to cover the entire wood panel so none of the original wood will be exposed, so that when we're done this step, the entire side of this wood panel will be mirrored. And by the way, the acrylic mirrors are self-adhesive, which makes it super convenient, and we won't have to mess with any glue. You can see here, we can still see the edges exposed, but I have a solution to fix that up later. Once I have the big piece in, I can go back in with the last two wooden blocks and glue those down as well. As you can see, I had to plan out the measurements beforehand, but don't get me wrong, I'm no mathematician by far. I let ChatGPT do all the heavy lifting by having it calculate the spacing for me. All I had to do was tell ChatGPT the measurements of the wood panel, the wooden blocks, and the sheets of acrylic mirror. I then told ChatGPT I wanted a set of the wooden blocks to be centered down the middle and the other two sets to be spaced exactly the same width as the width of the sheet of acrylic mirror. Then ChatGPT did all the calculations so I could mark up the wood panel accordingly. And in case you guys are not familiar with ChatGPT, it's an AI-powered website I go to anytime I need help with pretty much anything. You just ask it a question on whatever topic you want and it will give you an answer. And with that said, I've got all the acrylic mirror sheets laid down and I just realized that I forgot to bling out the middle wooden blocks, so I'll go ahead and do that now. And now for the mirror reveal. I'll peel away the blue plastic film so you can see the mirror effect. Obviously, the mirror reflection is slightly distorted, so not as good as real glass mirror, but nevertheless, I'm pretty impressed how much reflection you do get. Okay, so see these edges here? Since the acrylic sheets didn't go all the way to the edges, we're going to have to cover the edges up, and to do that, I'm going to apply some silver chrome card trim all around the wood panel to frame it. This will hide the exposed wood panel and also give the backboard a more finished and clean look. In fact, fact, I love using this card trim for many of my home decor crafts because it has a beautiful mirror-like finish. The trim is flexible and it can also be cut to size. And as you can see here, it's also self-adhesive. And yes, there's a link to this card trim in the video's description box as well. In fact, it's one of my favorite craft materials I like to use in my home decor craft projects. Okay, this is actually looking pretty good. And the amazing thing is how lightweight this backboard still is. If I were to have used real glass mirrors instead, this backboard would have been way heavier, which wouldn't actually have been an issue either way, except I generally prefer lightweight sconces, so they're easier to hang on the wall by myself. Okay, so to finish off this backboard, I'm going to go back in with some more silver rhinestone trim to cover the sides of this wood panel as well. The trim will definitely amp up the bling factor and really give this backboard a more polished look. But if it's too much bling for you, my suggestion is to go in with some white paint instead, just so you have a more finished look. Now we finally get to secure those photo frame sconces onto this backboard. I'll start by applying Fix-All to the wooden blocks and then I'll go back in and add some hot glue as well. That way the picture frame sconces will take hold immediately and we won't have to wait overnight for the Fix-All to fully cure before we are able to hang this up. Now, when securing the picture frame sconce to the wooden block, double check to make sure you have it centered because you want the sconces to be evenly spaced from each other. And once the middle one is in, I'll go back in with the second and the third photo frame sconce until all three are secured to the respective wooden blocks. And while I work on that, let me know what you think of this craft project so far. Drop me a comment down below with the words Wall Sconce and let me know if you will make one of these for your home as well. And if you will, I would be curious to know if you plan to make any design changes to yours to make it your own. All right, we've got all three photo frame sconces secured and now comes the final touches. I really want the wall sconces to stand out, so I'm going to embellish each of them with these beautiful glass gems. These are actually made of real glass and the facets on them are absolutely stunning. Once I decide how many rows of them I want to apply to the sconces, I'll cut strips of them out. And these are self-adhesive as well, so they'll be super easy to apply without having to use any glue. So for the top of each sconce, I did decide to go with a single row of the glass gems. And then for the bottom of each sconce, I decided to go in with 2 rows of the glass gems. Of course, if you really want to bling things out, you can go ahead and add more rows to both the top and bottom. But just be aware that the more you add, the heavier your wall sconce will become, so you may need someone to help you hang the wall sconce up later. So check that out. Already it looks 1,000 times even prettier than before. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other 2 photo frame sconces. And by the way, if you don't prefer these glass gems, you could opt to apply some silver or even gold rhinestone trim instead. The idea is to embellish the wall sconces to your liking and to match the rest of your home decor. I know some people believe less is more, and that's okay too. But if you're like me, you'll probably want to add some bling to amp up the glam factor. And I also like the idea of adding gold trim because I think that would give it a nice subtle color contrast against the otherwise silver wall sconce. And if you agree with mixing in gold trim for a pop of color, let me know down in the comments. So now for the final step. We obviously need to add a light source to the wall sconce, so I've chosen some rechargeable LED puck lights. They also have ones that are battery powered, so you can use whatever you have in your stash or whatever is more convenient for you. The point is that this wall sconce will be completely wireless and will not require any electrical power whatsoever. You can see here that I'm applying a piece of magnet inside each picture frame wall sconce. These magnet pieces come with a puck light and will allow us to stick the puck light inside as well as remove it when we need to recharge them. These puck lights are also sensored, so they'll automatically light up after dark whenever they sense motion. And here's the final look for our wall sconce. This wall sconce hangs horizontally on the wall. With a mirrored backboard and glass gems embellishments, I think this wall sconce really dresses up the space with an elegance that you would never guess was made from dollar store picture frames and wood materials. I think this wall sconce would actually look beautiful right above a vanity mirror, either in the bathroom or in the bedroom. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed today's craft tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.